Okay.
Me to intro?
Yeah, if you want to go for it, man. Yeah, shoot. You're recording. We're hot.
Here we go. The
Yeah.
Count of Monte Cristo, 2012 film, directed by Kevin Reynolds, written by Jay Wolpert. You'll remember Kevin Reynolds from such masterpieces as Red Dawn, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. They pale in comparison to his crowning achievement, probably the biggest film achievement in history, of Waterworld, the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Director, and one of the biggest flops in history at that time.
Yeah.
So go ahead, my friend.
Yeah.
There's the intro. What did you think about it?
I just a little edit there. I think maybe it was 2002. Did you say 2002 or 2012? It was 2002.
I'm looking at it, so it says 2002.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't say that though.
That's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I misunderstood. Okay. Yeah. I first time watching it, I finished it, literally 45 minutes ago. I liked it for the most part. I felt like it was a little slow to start. My taste in movies, I don't know what it is. Movies, TV shows, doesn't matter. I've always been kind of opposed to like period piece filmmaking, if that makes any sense. So I'm not naturally attracted to stuff like this, but it was entertaining. The best part of the movie for me was when he was imprisoned and he met the priest and they had that relationship building dynamic. I thought that was great. And the actor who played the priest, I think, stole the movie, in my opinion. What was his name?
Dumbledore. Richard Harris. He was the best Dumbledore before he died.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Okay. Wow. Well, what year did he pass away?
2002. Wow, the same year that Count of Monte Cristo was released.
Oh, okay. All right. Hold up. So this film came out after Harry Potter?
Isn't that kind of crazy? I didn't realize that as we're saying it.
It seems a lot older than that. That's crazy. I mean, what's crazy to me is watching this and thinking like 2002, that's 20 years ago. It doesn't feel like 20 years ago, but the movie just felt like a lot older than I guess.
It feels like the 90s.
Yeah, it does. And especially with the cool Touchstone logo that comes across at the front, which I fucking love. I really miss that. It was pretty entertaining. But the one thing that I really started to get into when they were in the prison is I was drawing comparisons to Shawshank Redemption. I'm sure a lot of people who watched it would. But in Shawshank Redemption, they mention the Count of Monte Cristo when he's putting the library up. And that's the only book I think they talk about in the whole movie and how it's about a prison escape. And I'm wondering I know Stephen King wrote the short story for Shawshank, but what kind of inspiration was behind just Shawshank Redemption coming to life from the Count of Monte Cristo? Because I'm sure there was a lot of inspiration.
Yeah, and one thing I forgot to in our opening, more importantly, the Count of Monte Cristo, 1844 by Alexander Dumas. Or yes. Dumas. Yeah, where it came from. So of fame, of course, Three Musketeers. But yeah, the book itself is iconic, and the source material is, been used hundreds of times, literally, because of its exceptional story. So, little point of fact for everybody.
Yeah, and a very young Henry Cavill too. I didn't know he was in this. This must have been his first movie, maybe.
Yeah, probably before the steroids. True.
Yeah, young guy. But I mean, I was entertained. I don't really think I'll be, super pumped to go back and revisit this. And I'm wondering, I wanted to ask you, because this brings up something that really, I'm curious about. I had these movies in my library, whatever, that I watched when I was younger, and I'm just very fond of them. And when I go back and rewatch them, I can kind of see that they're not great films, but I still love them. And I'm wondering how much of that is the Count of Monte Cristo for you?
So I have a list of films I always go to when I'm having a tough time or I want to get kind of uplifted, and I've saved them. The Count of Monte Cristo I've saved. I only watched this movie probably 3 years ago, so it was way after it came out. And what's good is you are picking up why I like this. This movie is, I always make jokes because we talk about ratings of girls, but it fits. There's always that one girl that your friend dates or whatever, and she's cute, and they're so like, over the moon for them, and you're not quite sure why. And you're like, what is it about this girl? She's cute. She's cute, but she's not like the top in the world. But for that person, they were, right? This movie, in a lot of ways, is that for me. I'm going to quote Roger Ebert, the great film critic. The Count of Monte Cristo is a movie that incorporates piracy, Napoleon in exile, betrayal, solitary confinement, secret messages, escape tunnels, swashbuckling, comic relief, and a treasure map. Parisian high society, sweet revenge brings it into under 2 hours, performances by good actors who are clearly having fun. This is the kind of adventure picture the studios turned out in the golden age. So traditional, it almost feels new. This is the reason I liked it. Is the story something where it's like a twist plot and it's really, existential or thematically, relevant? No, it's just a good overall movie. And it does harken to the 90s, and that's why I like it. I like it because it's just a good movie. And I can continue to watch it and watch it and watch it, and somewhat self-insert into the guy that's finding out what's really important in life and really becoming a man, which is what prison is for him. His sin was being naive. He had the perfect life. He had the beautiful woman that dotes on him that every guy wants, if we're honest, to some degree. So he had everything going for him early on. And it's all taken away because, in my opinion, he didn't deserve it yet. He still didn't get that as a man, he had to be cunning and discerning. And he had to learn that in prison. And I like that because that's the lesson he learns coming out of it. And now he's earned the life he has at a maybe more appropriate age.
Yeah, well said. I love that too. And I did note that, the fact that you break a man down to his core and then he's ready to be himself, basically. And it took this, traumatic experience of him being locked up for what was it, 16 years?
I think so.
And I mean, that would make anyone who survived it an incredible human being. And that's just the way it is, right? Through this challenge and this adversity and this, completely insane to imagine surviving that amount of time in basically solitary confinement until you're, able to get a little bit of human interaction. But, yeah, I did like that rise up. And the fact that it's not necessarily a revenge movie. He says the word revenge so many times throughout the film, but it's, in the end, it's more about justice. And there's a difference.
Of course, they're trying to do something biblical because, again, you got to think about when it came out, 1844, things are still based upon stuff like that. Man does not have the right to vengeance or revenge. God's vengeance, right? And so they say that in the film, but he does get justice, like you said. Something also, I got to say, Dagmara Dumanish, or however you say her name, his love interest, I think is just flawlessly beautiful.
Stunning, isn't she?
Yeah, just take her away.
Yeah, I just found out that she's married to Patrick Wilson. You know that actor?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that happened to her.
Poor child.
Yeah. And one thing you said, Richard Harris, you're right. He did. He stole a show. When he comes in, he's that mentor character that you really needed, and he did a great job, I thought.
Yeah, and that's indicative of times like we're in now. Just the blessing of having a mentor in a young man or a young woman's life, and how rare it probably is. These kind of things are tremendous in shaping the man or woman that you essentially become. And that relationship is pretty touching to see, even though it's such an unusual circumstance they're in.
Yeah, his scene, I get choked up every time when he says he loses his faith, right? He says, "I don't believe in God," and then his words are, "But God believes in you."
I do not believe in God, and it doesn't matter. He believes in you.
Yeah, great.
Beautiful.
That's just good.
But it's so funny you said that, man, because literally I had my notepad open. That's the one note I took, was that line. Because I was like, that's fucking perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, and so sorry, to your bigger point, you are right. I mean, I won't get too deep into it again because I'm always kind of critical of the quote unquote elites or deep state, whatever you want to call it in this case. A lot of these people get there because of that. Imagine, the Zuckerbergs whose dad was a computer scientist and connected that, Bill Gates whose dad. My point is, these people have people in their lives, not only look up to, but give connections. It helps a lot in your life. Better than having a high IQ, better than being rich. If you have somebody that's like, here's the roadmap to success in life, like that helps a lot.
Yeah. It does.
Have that. So the elephant in the room, and I'm curious. Well, I'm gonna get your take first. I'll get mine. Let's talk about Louis Guzman.
Luis Guzman.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think about him in the film?
Look, I like Luis Guzman a lot. As an actor, and I've seen some interviews of him. He seems like a really just cool guy. But it's like, yo, man, why are you putting the Bronx in this movie? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's funny. I watched the first and I kept thinking of Waiting, where he's the
Yeah,
horny chef.
yeah,
Yeah, I think he did his role well. But it was interesting. You're right, because I'm like, well, this guy is still kind of Guzman.
yeah.
But I thought it worked.
Interesting. Yeah, there was one line that he gave. I can't. It was towards the end. He's saying, like you should. Oh, when he's going and he's telling him, oh no, I need to study these people, find out their weaknesses. The all the people he wants to get revenge on, and Luis Guzman's character is like, why don't you just go kill him? Just you got your girl, man. You got your money. Just go in and bam, 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 and then you get out. Like, is that actually written in the script?
I don't think he says bam, 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 does he?
He does. Yeah.
Rewatch this. We'll revisit this in another podcast.
Yeah, I mean, he took me out of it a little bit, but then when I just kept watching. Okay, well, this is just kind of that lighthearted sprinkle that they put in here because obviously they're aware that he's going to bring kind of a different element and a unique character to the story, and who knows, maybe that's how it was written in the book. I doubt it, but yeah, I thought it was an interesting choice.
Yeah, and the good thing too is it's not like it destroyed the whole movie, whereas something like Stillwater was, a conceptually terrible movie. So
Yeah.
to be clear, and I knew that, so like I always want to, I don't want to inflict pain upon you like you inflicted Stillwater on me. When I picked this movie, it's exactly, and I think I told you before. For me, it's my movie. It's my like, I can't stop watching it. It makes me feel like it's a story. It's a story.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning, blend, rising conflict, character development. I'll take it. I just like it. I love Guy Pearce a lot, by the way.
He's phenomenal. Yeah, I felt like he was overacting a little bit in this because that's kind of what the character called for. But he's the guy is he's stellar in anything that he does.
I agree. I love L.A. Confidential is one of my favorites he's in.
Oh yeah,
with a young Russell Crowe. What I was gonna say too is I also love, and again, this is self-insertion. Maybe it's the love interest. I like when the first question she asks is, "Was he hurt?" It's a good line of dialogue. Someone that truly loves you, the first thing you mean is, were you okay? Right? She didn't say like, why didn't you talk to me, or where have you been, or or like, what did you think about, or how do you think about it? She's like, were you hurt? I think she says, or something like that. I like the scene where she's trying to win him back, and he's still scorned and upset because he thinks that she, betrayed him.
yeah. How do you think you would feel in that situation?
Oh, with her, I'd bang her right there. Right on the spot.
That's what I want to hear.
There'd be no dialogue.
I was thinking that. I'm like, yo, this motherfucker's been locked up for a long time. Like he's getting pretty picky here. He's got some pent up shit in those pants, man. He's showing some pretty crazy restraint right now.
Yeah, no, I'm like, dude, she's so gorgeous.
Yeah, ridiculously, and she's still working. I think I looked at her IMDb briefly, but I wasn't familiar with her before watching this movie. But she still seems to be going strong.
And she's tainted now with Patrick Wilson. So
she's had a few of his kids. It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Important to note, she's Polish, and my ideal woman would be a Polish woman. So if we ever get any kind of variety on this, Polish women, reach out to me.
Well, we're actually planning the traveling podcast. We're going to do a show in Poland, so you can look forward to that.
All 8+s line up.
Man, I told you a little bit. I'm not going to harp on that, but I told you a little bit about my experience in Poland, and what you're saying holds very true based on what I saw. And I want to talk about Jim Caviezel for a second because he's a really interesting actor to me. Obviously, he played Jesus in The Passion of the Christ, and I think that's probably what he's known best for. Do you know if there's any kind of like controversy surrounding him in the industry? If he's been like, blacklisted is the wrong word, but I'm just going to throw it out there because you know what I mean. Is he tainted in the eyes of Hollywood? Do you think?
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
You don't know.
No.
He doesn't know. Yes. The one thing you can't be, as Trey Parker and Matt Stone made a joke about, is be a conservative in Hollywood, as we all know quite clearly. And I'm not sure he ever came out as conservative, but things you should know about him, because I do know about him. First of all, he's very religious. In movies, he doesn't have any sex scenes with women because he wants to be respectful to his wife. And being religious usually means, in this case, he's Christian, I believe, which is why he made Passion of Christ and other things. Christians are usually conservative, almost, entirely so. and he made a movie. I'm trying to look him up now. There's a famous right-wing political commentator named Dinesh D'Souza who actually has an interesting story, and they made a movie together. And he's not a sort of famous; he's extremely famous right-wing political commentator. He's not a movie guy. He produced a movie. I don't think he directed it. The Mistake, right? You can't make a movie and be, a Republican unless you're Clint Eastwood, which even though he was kind of pushed out, if you remember.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
Eastwood, he finances his movies and he does everything himself. So he kind of skirts around that Hollywood system. Good for him.
Infidel. Infidel is a 2020 American political thriller written, directed, and produced by Cyrus Norris, something, and starring blah, blah, blah. The film's executive producer is Dinesh D'Souza, who added the film to the production of D'Souza Media. And Dinesh D'Souza is indeed a far right, which does not mean what people think it is. It just means he's very conservative. Thanks. Political commentator. I guess he also, and Jim Caviezel, embraced the QAnon conspiracy theory, or whatever it is in terms of your beliefs, but that got him some flack. So my theory is that, now I will say that it happened in 2020, but I'm going to go ahead and guess if you're that invested in a lot of things that people figured out along the way. And long story short, you can't be a conservative in Hollywood. So yeah, good read. He was blacklisted, I would say.
Yeah. Obviously we're not connected to Hollywood in any way. We just enjoy talking about it from time to time. Do you ever see that changing, in your opinion, in the Hollywood system as far as conservative, liberal, that dynamic?
It's a hard question because we're at a point now, I think at least the left will agree with this too, which is kind of scary, that I don't see things changing slowly. We're going to need a reckoning, right? And the outcome of that reckoning will determine it. So in this case, let's say there is a reckoning, and then the worst fears of the left is realize it's a far right reckoning where someone wants to be all these different things they don't agree with, right? And it is terrible. I'm not saying that would be good, by the way. But if it did, and then the right took control, then of course we'd have a conservative media again, right? That's one outcome. Another outcome is somehow we figure out a way to shake hands with each other. But that's the thing. I don't think we're going to get there. I think we're past that. If we did, then theoretically it'd be like, hey, how about we stop picking sides? And if you want to make a Christian movie and and you want to make a movie about being an atheist and a leftist, whatever, go for it. No problem. But I don't see us getting there. The left is so entrenched that anything you could say, like, hey, you know what? Yeah, thanks. Good conversation. God bless you. And it's like, whoa, do not hire him. Take all his funding away. Like, there's no way to even deliver anything, even in a line of dialogue. I think our only outcome is it. And so to answer your question, long-winded, is if we had some sort of reckoning and the right to control again, you'd see it. I don't see us doing it in harmonious, hand-in-hand kumbaya film production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, with this whole, we're not going to go back into it, but with this whole, recent Oscars scenario, it just kind of seems like the whole Hollywood system is just setting itself up to fail. Don't you agree? I mean, who admires this anymore, and who pines for it?
Yeah, I think impressionable youth, but I like how you said that. There's a podcast I listened to a while, a famous one, which will remain unnamed, but somebody said, he's talking about the left again. And I need to, okay, I'm going to try and get better at this. It's not just the left. The left and right are on the same side. Okay, so there's my opinion for this podcast. The joke is conservatism is liberalism going the speed limit. Haha, right? Because they don't really conserve anything. We'll call it globalism because that's a better term. Globalism is what's popular right now. And I had somebody or heard someone on a podcast say it's like they're trying to get fired, like being in a job and trying to get fired. That's what I feel like right now with a lot of this stuff, not just the Oscars. A lot of these things where you're like, what are you doing? Like eventually people will say this is outrageous or you've lost it. And it feels like they're trying to get fired. I can get into theories why that is, but I will say it at a surface level, that's what it does look like. What do you think?
I mean, it's one of those things, like if you have a theory, you'll always find the data to support it, no matter what it is. So it's so easy to say, what you think and, kind of have that be your truth. But I don't know. I mean, it's just because, we're both kids of the 80s and, our heyday of, I guess, going to the theater and watching movies and have it be larger than life is the 90s, early 2000s. And I don't think it's just the fact that we are a little bit older. I think, that magic is gone, and that's not just because I don't like Marvel movies, because that's pretty much, all that's cranked out nowadays. I just think it's to the point where, like, we get it. We've seen it, and these Hollywood executives are very wealthy, I'm assuming, and these actors are paid just absurd amounts of money to do these jobs, and I just think that it's a system that's kind of set up to fail, and I do think that we're kind of seeing maybe the end of it in a weird way. I don't know exactly what that entails and what that means, but whatever it was is not sustainable, and the fact that we have two grown men, engaging in what we saw on live television a couple weeks back. It's just that's a perfect example of, I think why it's going away.
Yeah, I think first of all, really well said. And what I'm getting from you is that Morbius is a terrible movie. And you're right. A Marvel movie.
I can't believe you went to see it.
Of course not. I've seen the reviews, and that one I don't think is like some conspiracy. I think it's probably a horrible movie. Like I text you, Jared Leto is like typecast as being a bad or being miscast. That's your typecast. He's always miscast.
Yeah, it's funny. Like with Jared Leto, he had this Academy Award win for Dallas Buyers Club. I don't know, what was it, 7-8 years ago, whatever. And I think that just put him in this weird state of narcissism. I mean, you got to give him respect for, I guess, being all in, quote unquote. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a bit too much whenever I see him. And that's just my opinion, of course. I did read that during the filming of Morbius, he required a wheelchair for him to go to and from the bathroom for every break. I don't know why. I don't know the storyline behind Morbius, that apparently this is to help him stay in character. So yeah, who knows with that guy? Yeah, I don't know. I don't plan on seeing Morbius. I haven't heard really, that it's worth checking out. But
Yeah, I think you said you give him credit for that. I'll give him credit for getting roles in top films. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah,
he has some sort of, I don't know, ritual blood sacrifice with some producer or something. I don't know how that...
I was just gonna say, man, he drank the blood, or somebody drank his. Who knows? Kudos
to him.
Hey, man, he's. I assume he's doing what he loves. You remember he had that band when I think it was popular when we were in college. What was it 30
Seconds to Mars?
30 seconds. That's it. 30 Seconds to Mars. Is he still doing that shit? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm sure he is on the side. He has on his life resume to continue the mystery that is him. Yeah, you remember
our buddy? He'll go unnamed for the sake of this episode, but he was 30 Seconds to Mars, their videographer.
Okay.
I think for one of their tours, and he was around Jared Leto all the time. And he told me a little bit about his interactions with Jared Leto, and said that Jared Leto was just fucking awful, like the entire time. He was just horrible to everyone. His family, I think his grandmother maybe lived like somewhere in the South. I want to say like Louisiana or something, like really, really rough living situations. And this is back in like 2006, maybe 2007. Anyways, for whatever that's worth, it's always a shame to hear that kind of stuff. You just wonder. Cool. All right. Count of Monte Cristo, man. So out of 10.
7.5.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 6.5. 6.5. Yeah. What you had mentioned that this is you said it's your favorite movie, right?
I hate that question. I say that.
Right. That depends on it depends on the day, the mood, all that shit. I just want to ask, is Groundhog Day up there with you?
Yeah, there you go. There's one. Cloud Atlas, for example, is one of my favorites.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a good call. I need to revisit Cloud Atlas for sure.
Again, Roger Ebert called it. He was such a great film. He said, if nothing else, it was the most ambitious film of all time. And I liked it because it tried really hard to do everything, and it got close. Mm-hmm. Minus the makeup.
I do remember Hugh Grant dressed up like a indigenous warrior, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah. Right after he fucked a prostitute instead of Elizabeth Hurley for whatever reason.
Hey man, he's a charmer. What can you say? Yeah. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes in the links below.